Welcome, everyone, to Stepping Into Your Leadership. I'm your host, Christine Courtney. Our goal here is to give you some actionable takeaways that will help you lead your teams. Thanks for joining us on this leadership journey. Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Leadership Summer Series. We're here with a nice light bite, salad version of our hearty, meaty, usual sessions. And this is for your leadership beach read. We're going to give you one scenario today of a problem that an employee is having and how two people who I think are great managers could handle the problem. They may agree, they may disagree, we may add on. You at home can add on your thoughts as you're listening and see how you would handle this. But these are things that generally come up. So we've had people send in stuff, and I've taken some of the ones that are the most complained about by leaders. So here we go. You guys ready for our new one? Our problem child today is Gary. Okay. Gary is Gary. Gary is a team leader, has had several conflicts with colleagues, leading to a tense work environment. Team members have reported feeling undervalued and ignored in discussions. Recently, Gary had a heated argument with a colleague over a project approach, leading to a formal complaint being filed with HR. This has caused a significant drop in team morale and productivity. This one's tough.
Wow.
This one's tough. All right. So how might you deal with Gary? I'm going to start this time, Jenny, with you. And then Elaine, you can either have a different approach or you can add on or you can, disagree, however you want to do it. So Jenny, what do you think? How would you deal with Gary?
Well, since a formal HR complaint has been lodged against Gary, I think that we need a formal conversation with HR involved and to let him know that this is what's happened, and then give him an opportunity to say, from your perspective, does this ring true for you? From your perspective, what happened? And then to say, this is the formal complaint, but we have observed rising tension in your team and conflict between you and multiple team members. So what's going on? And just give him a chance to start from his perspective. My guess is that it will be something like they're not doing it right. That's what my gut is telling me, that it's either a working style issue or a process issue. There's some sort of power play happening. So then to try to dive into each incident and sort of from your perspective, why were you correcting this person? What was the problem? And then depending on those answers, probably worth taking a moment, maybe speaking to other people on the team and hearing their perspectives as well. And then if we can identify what the root cause is, come with some, there could be multiple steps. There could be mediation type steps, but then there could also be system steps okay, we're going to just use this protocol that's going to solve your working styles issue. Is there something that we can just take out of the equation that will help everybody move forward?
Yeah. Okay, great. So I love that what you said is that if HR is involved already,
yeah,
if you're the leader, you better be very much in touch with HR, right? Once HR is involved, it escalates into a whole different category. All right, Elaine, what do you want to say with Gary?
Yeah, I love what Jenny said. I have an unpopular thing I'm going to say. And here's the thing about Gary. Gary sounds like a very strong personality. He sounds like a driver. He sounds like if he's a leader, that means there's a lot of what he does is good and helpful. However, he can't just run roughshod over the team, right? I don't believe that when we get into the HR room that Gary is going to have contrition. I think Gary is going to backpedal and say it's everybody else's fault and will just walk away angry no matter what happens. So what I would do is I would have a meeting before the meeting. As Gary's boss, I would pull Gary to the side, maybe go out to lunch with Gary and say, hey, look, I want to talk to you about something that I've been noticing. It feels like you've been a little extra aggressive with folks, and we've gotten some complaints. And I'm trying to give you the short version, but I would have some sort of conversation with him around the behavior, but not in I'm wagging my finger, not in a punitive way, but a way for us to kind of talk about what's happening with Gary. And I would let Gary know the effect he's having on the rest of the team. And I would let Gary know in this heart-to-heart out to lunch, I can't have that as your boss. Gary, you do great work, but this can't go on. So Gary, you and I have to work out what's going to happen. And Gary's going to complain about everyone else, and I'm going to let him. And after that, I'm going to say that some of the things he might say may be true, but his approach and how he's approaching the team is not providing psychological safety and is resulting in this HR issue. Gary, you don't want the HR issue. Gary, I don't want the HR issue. So if there's nothing in this, Gary, that you are taking away, nobody wants to go to HR. So we need to skirt this, because I don't believe Gary's going to change overnight. This might be or he might not change at all. But Gary, go home and tell your cat. There's the 10 rules of leadership that says, when you want to complain about somebody, go tell your cat. If he wants to complain about people or if he's upset, but in this place, this is how it has to go. Gary, you say what? And so I would give Gary the room to kind of talk about that. I wouldn't shut him down. And then I would say, okay, Gary, the next step is HR. So, just meaning we have to go to HR because they brought up an HR complaint. But this is the time for us to kind of talk about what changes can be made so that when we get to HR, you're in good shape. And it can't be fake, Gary, because if it's fake, you're only going to come back to HR. I know this is a long-winded story, but
well, I can tell that you know a few Garys in your past.
Some Garys in your life. Well, this is interesting. I would love to hear your opinions about how much we fill Gary in about Elaine said you did this and Christine said you did that, right? So it's this very interesting position for the supervisor to be in. We need to tell them the specific behaviors and examples because that's important. And Gary is going to be like, well, what do you mean? Prove it. At the other hand, we have to also protect those people who came to us or HR in confidence. So I find that's it's a tightrope walk.
Yeah. And I think in some cases, HR will know how to handle it depending on the situation. I think the problem is that this was, or not the problem, I think the thing that's helpful and the key to this is that it was a heated argument. So a lot of people potentially heard it. Do you know what I mean? Including you or other people. So that's something that's out in the open. And I think that is easier to talk to him about rather than kind of tense environments or things that aren't as clear. I don't know why, and this could be my own prejudice, but I feel like Gary is older. And when I say older, I mean my age, my generation or older, because he's a little bit fed up with some of the younger workers potentially, and there could be, to Elaine's point, he might be valuable, right, in this leadership role. Again, if Gary is not valuable and he's not producing for you, this is a great way to let HR take Gary and give him a performance improvement plan and work with you on getting Gary out of the business if he's really affecting the team. However, if Gary is good and he produces results and he just has some anger management issues, you have to worry about a hostile work environment. And with younger generations today, they don't take it like we used to, and nor should they, to be honest. I mean, I think that there's a change that has to happen. And I love, Elaine, your approach of taking Gary out, because that's exactly what I was picturing, is that he needs that kind of hard talk one-on-one where he feels that you are on his side. And I would also use this data with him to say, Gary, people don't leave bad jobs. They leave bad managers. And part of your job is to produce results, and the other part is to retain people. That's your two jobs. And right now, you're on a path to not retaining people. 50% of managers fail within the first 18 months. And right now you are on a path to failure. And I don't want that for you. You cannot manage in the same way that you've managed for 10 years. Like, life has changed. The people coming into the workforce has changed, and we can blame them for all we want, but there's just more of them coming. So the reality is that we, the old guard, got to start changing. And I think that that's really important for him to hear from you. This old style of just yelling or is not appropriate anymore. It'll get you fired in a heartbeat.
And sued.
Yeah, I think to myself, wait, why are we yelling at work? Why was that ever a thing? That makes no sense at all.
It was a thing.
Of course it was a thing. Oh my gosh. And we've all dabbled in the theater world, right? I mean, it's classic. The director smoking in the back, screaming at people, with a whole military, break them down to build them back up.
I had to have a conversation with our old boss, who will remain nameless, to say, I had to close his door and say, you are only allowed to yell in here when no one is here. You are not allowed anymore to yell up in this part of the office. We had to actually give him a yelling space. How? And I said, you can yell in front of me, but you cannot yell in front of them. And that was me managing up. Like that was a different time. You know what I mean? And so there are some of those folks who are feeling incredibly frustrated with a totally different kind of workforce generationally. Now, I could be, like I said, I have a prejudice. So they did not talk about Gary's age in here. So it could be that. But you also might have to get Gary some anger management training, give him some tools.
Right.
Give him some new ways to handle generational differences, help him see something a little different because it's complicated. But again, if he's not producing, I don't know if he's going to be able to change, and it's really ruining your team.
Right. He should be out. If he's not producing and he's not, he's not a productive member of the team, that's an easy one. Yeah. You don't say anything. If you want him out, you say nothing and let it happen.
Elaine, you are so gangsta. You're gonna let him just go after the team. Let him kill someone.
I mean, if he's someone you've been wanting out, then that's easy.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's important to find out the why. Like what triggered, what was he responding to in his mind that was so terrible it could only be addressed with this level of heat and energy. Because if it is like a work style or something like that, then it's like, okay, well, we can just fix that. Like that can be fixed. We can set different deadlines. We can rearrange roles or something.
And sometimes it could also be that, sometimes folks coming are very sensitive too. So they're maybe not used to conflict at all. So that's the other piece of it, is that he may be thinking this is just healthy conflict and they can't stand any conflict. So you have to look at there might be something on their end or on the team's end of how you disagree. So in a more healthy manner. But boy, Gary's a tough one. You're going to have to be very involved and
supportive. If you want Gary to stay, you need to support Gary, and how you can support Gary is having this conversation with him is my thought.
Yeah. Okay, you guys, you ready? We're going to do a speed round. We're going to see. Last time I had you on, Elaine and Jenny got through how many? You got through 3 questions, I think.
3.
That's our top so far.
Because we're better than
all right, Elaine,
else.
We're going for 4.
Okay.
At least
Yes,
minimum.
Okay, you guys ready? I'm going to start with Elaine and then go to Jenny. And then the second question will start with Jenny and go to Elaine. If I remember that, that's what'll happen. Okay, here we go. Elaine, what's the most challenging part of being a leader?
The people problems, the lateness, the people problems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny.
Gary is the hardest. It's a lot of responsibility. You're really holding people's livelihoods in your hands, and that's a lot of responsibility. You have to treat that with respect.
It's not the work. It's the people.
All right, Jenny, how do you build trust within your team?
Starting with transparency about where I'm at, apologizing if I make mistakes. So kind of modeling that and following through on commitments that I make.
Elaine?
Start there.
Caring about what they care about. You have to care about what these people care about. You don't have to like what they care about, but you must show caring, because nobody wants to work for people who don't care about them.
Awesome. Elaine, what's your favorite leadership book or podcast besides stepping into your leadership?
The Happiness Lab by Laurie Santos. And it's a podcast about positive psychology. You all know I proselytize about this. But she talks about all of these different techniques on how our brain works in order to make us happy, but that translates to how we can have a fulfilling work environment. The Happiness Lab.
Great. Jenny?
Well, this is my favorite leadership podcast. Honestly, I'm thinking more of a concept that I've taken away. Daniel Pink's Drive, his idea of autonomy, mastery, and purpose of being the top motivators for human beings, that really connected with me. And I think that's true at work and in life.
Awesome. That's exactly 2 minutes, guys. So I'm stopping us there, even though I really wanted to get through another one, but I thought you did great. We got 3 in just exactly 2 minutes. That is a record here on the summer series. So thank you, Elaine and Jenny. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for listening and helping us solve the Gary problem. Let us know if you have other ways, or if you are a Gary, we can help. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week for another Summer Light Bite. Thanks everybody for listening. I'd like to give a special shout out to our podcast producer, Richard Francisco. Check out our notes for any details. And if you get anything out of this, please follow us. And if you enjoy it, please take a moment to rate us or write a comment. It will mean the world to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you just can't get enough, follow me on TikTok and check out tlpnyc.com/podcast for more information.